Welcome to Propeller Breeze, the show for student pilots, sim fans, and everyone chasing that first solo and beyond. All information in this podcast is for entertainment and general knowledge only. Always verify with certified flight instructors or regulatory authorities before attempting anything mentioned here.
I want you to picture this. You're in the left seat. It's a hot afternoon or your third landing of the day. You turn base to final, and the runway looks... well, it looks wrong. It looks a little too high in the windshield.
Yeah, that sinking feeling.
Right. You check your airspeed, and it's decaying. You check your altitude, and you're sinking faster than you want. And in that split second, you have this realization in your gut. You aren't just low, you are empty.
That is a terrifying feeling.
It is. It's that moment where you realize you have no speed left to trade, you have no altitude to give, and the engine, well, it's making noise, but it's not fixing the problem fast enough.
That's the nightmare scenario. That's the moment the math stops working in your favor. And frankly, that is the moment a student pilot stops being a pilot.
And starts being a passenger.
Starts being a passenger in a falling object.
Exactly. And if you are a student pilot listening to this, or, even a seasoned aviator, flying is often described as hours of boredom, punctuated by moments of sheer terror. But that terror usually comes from being behind the airplane.
We call it helmet fire.
Right, helmet fire. Total sensory overload. You're staring at 6 instruments, listening to ATC, trying to unfold a map, and wondering why the plane is banking left.
Yeah, just completely overwhelmed.
But today, we are going to extinguish that fire. We're doing a deep dive into the Airplane Flying Handbook, specifically Chapter 4. And look, I know the FAA manuals can sometimes read like...
VCR instructions from 1987.
Exactly. But this chapter is different.
It really is. This isn't just procedure, it's physics. It is the grand unified theory of flying. We are talking about energy management.
Right.
And honestly, if you truly understand what is in these pages, you stop flying the airplane by reaction, that whack-a-mole style where you chase needles, and you start flying by prediction.
That is the goal today.
Yeah.
We aren't just reading regulations. We're going to decode the physics that keep you alive. We're going to look at why pitch and power, that phrase every instructor yells, is actually a simplified lie we tell students.
Oh, it is.
And how seeing your plane as an energy system is the only way to avoid the 3 most common ways pilots get into fatal accidents.
The stakes couldn't be higher.
So let's start with the basics. When the handbook says energy management, I think most people's eyes glaze over. It sounds like engineering homework.
It does. It sounds like you need a calculator in the cockpit.
So what are we actually managing?
At its core, you are managing a bank account. But instead of dollars and cents, you're trading in 2 very specific currencies. The text defines it as the planning, monitoring, and controlling of altitude and airspeed.
Okay, so altitude and airspeed, potential and kinetic energy.
Precisely. And this is where the mental model has to shift. Most students see altitude as how high I am and airspeed as how fast I am.
They're just 2 separate gauges on the panel?
Exactly. But the handbook wants you to see them as interchangeable forms of the same thing, total mechanical energy.
Okay, let's break that down, because that feels like the key takeaway right there.
Yeah.
Altitude is potential energy. It's energy stored in the bank. I can cash that in anytime I want by just pushing the nose down. Gravity takes that height and converts it into speed, into kinetic energy.
Right. And conversely, if you have a lot of speed kinetic energy, you can pull back on the yoke and trade that speed for altitude. You're depositing cash back into the bank.
You're trading kinetic for potential.
Yeah.
So the airframe is really just a currency exchange. I'm constantly swapping height for speed and speed for height.
It is. But here is the catch, and this is where students get into trouble. There is a third player in this economy.
A transaction fee.
A transaction fee. The taxman.
Drag.
Drag, of course.
Exactly. Every time you move the airplane through the air, drag is siphoning energy out of your account. It's the cost of doing business.
Yeah.
So you can't trade altitude for airspeed back and forth forever.
Eventually, drag bankrupts you.
It bankrupts you. The plane will end up on the ground, stopped.
Unless you have an income source. The engine. And this is a critical distinction the source makes, one that really blew my mind when I first got it. The controls, the yoke, the rudder, the trim, they only distribute the energy you already have.
They just determine where the energy goes.
Yes. But the throttle, The throttle is the only thing that adds new energy to the system.
That actually explains so much. I remember my instructor yelling, "Pitch for airspeed, power for altitude."
Endlessly.
We all do.
But if you view it through this energy lens, it makes more sense. If I'm low on total energy, if I'm low and slow pitching up, does nothing.
Pitching up just trades speed you don't have for altitude you can't reach.
Exactly. I'm broke. I can't trade. I need a deposit. I need the throttle.
Bang on. And that leads us to the 3 specific objectives the handbook lays out. They don't just say manage energy for fun. They give you 3 targets.
Okay, let's walk through them. Objective number 1 is profiles.
The text says, attain and maintain desired vertical flight path airspeed profiles.
Which is a mouthful of FAA speak. Break that down for the student pilot listening. Okay, think about a normal takeoff. That is a profile. You want to climb at a specific speed, say, v your best rate of climb.
Right.
You are gaining altitude at a specific rate while holding a specific speed. You are locking in a profile where you're adding energy with the engine and distributing it into both altitude and speed efficiently.
So a profile is just a planned energy state. It's saying, I intend to be climbing at 75 knots, rather than just pointing the nose up and seeing what happens.
Exactly. If you were just pointing and hoping you aren't managing, you're guessing.
Okay. Objective number 2. This one hits home for me. Detecting, correcting, and preventing unintentional deviations.
The key word there is unintentional. We all deviate. The air isn't smooth. Thermals happen. But an energy manager spots the trend before it becomes a deviation.
This is the difference between chasing the needle and actually controlling the airplane.
Right. A student sees the altimeter drop 100 feet and thinks, oops, pull back. That's reactive.
Yeah, that was me.
An energy manager hears the engine RPM drops slightly, or feels the nose dip, or sees the airspeed trend indicate a deceleration. They think, my energy output just decreased. I need to fix this now.
Before the altimeter even moves.
Right. You're fixing the leak before the tank is empty.
And that leads to the 3rd objective, which is the darkest one in the chapter. Prevent irreversible deceleration and/or sink rate that results in a crash.
Irreversible. That is a terrifying word to see in a flight manual.
It is. We are trained to believe everything is recoverable. Spin. Recoverable. Stall. Recoverable. But irreversible implies a point of no return.
And there is one. The laws of physics are not negotiable. There is a state of low energy, specifically low altitude and low airspeed, where the airplane simply does not have the mechanical energy to arrest a descent.
It doesn't matter if you pull full back on the yoke.
It doesn't matter if you firewall the throttle. The math says you hit the ground.
Because it takes time for the engine to add energy, and it takes altitude to trade for speed. If you have neither time nor altitude,
It crashed.
This brings us to the why. Why is the FAA shaking us by the shoulders with this chapter? Because the statistics they cite are. They're brutal.
They are. The source explicitly links mismanagement of mechanical energy to the big 3. These are the 3 types of accidents that are most likely to kill you.
Okay, let's slay these dragons one by one. Number 1 on the list, LOC-I, loss of control in flight.
Stalls and spins. Now, most pilots think of a stall as an aerodynamic failure. The wings stop flying. But look deeper. Why did the wings stop flying?
Because you ran out of speed.
You ran out of kinetic energy, you tried to demand lift, you tried to make a withdrawal from the bank, but your account was empty.
You mismanaged your airspeed.
You mismanaged your airspeed to the point of bankruptcy. It changes the perspective from, I pulled back too hard, to, I didn't have the energy budget for that maneuver.
Wow.
If you have 150 knots, you can pull back hard. You have the currency. If you have 50 knots, you don't. A stall is just an energy overdraft notice.
Okay, dragon number 2, CFIT, controlled flight into terrain.
This is usually someone flying a perfectly good airplane into a mountain or the ground, often in bad weather.
How is that an energy problem? This sounds like a navigation problem.
It starts as navigation, but it ends as energy. Usually CFIT happens because a pilot realizes too late that there is hard stuff in front of them.
And they try to climb.
They try to climb, but they don't have the potential energy, the altitude already in the bank to clear the obstacle, and they don't have enough excess power to generate that altitude in time.
So they are energy poor in a high-cost environment.
That's a great way to put it. They simply cannot afford the climb.
And the 3rd one, the one that statistically gets most of us, approach and landing accidents.
This is the ultimate test. Think about what a landing is. You are taking a machine with a massive amount of energy.
Thousands of pounds moving at over 100 miles per hour.
Right, and thousands of feet in the air, and you have to dissipate that energy to effectively 0 at a very specific point on the ground.
It's a massive energy dissipation puzzle.
It is. If you arrive at the runway with too much energy high and fast, you float. You run off the end.
And if you force it down?
You bounce, you wheelbarrow, you break the gear. But the more dangerous side is arriving with too little energy. The low and slow approach. This is where that irreversible deceleration lives.
This is the backside of the power curve.
That's where it bites you. We should probably explain that term briefly.
Yeah, we hear a lot in hangar talk.
Simply put, usually, to go slower, you reduce power. That makes sense to everyone. But at very low speeds, the airplane is nose high, it's plowing through the air, drag goes up massively.
Because of that high angle of attack.
Exactly. So to fly even slower, or just to maintain level flight at that slow speed, you actually need more power.
It's counterintuitive. You're slow, but you need full throttle just to stay in the air.
Right. And if you are low, slow, and behind that curve, and you don't add power aggressively, you sink like a stone. Drag eats you alive.
And since you're low, you have no potential energy to trade for speed. You are cornered.
You are cornered by physics.
It really connects the dots. I think as a student, I viewed these accidents as bad luck or bad piloting. But framing them as energy failures makes it so much more concrete.
It's not just don't crash, it's don't run your energy bank account to zero.
So how do we actually do this? The handbook talks about developing a mental model.
Right. It lists 3 requirements for competency.
Okay, let's get practical. Requirement number 1, the mental model.
This is what we've been talking about. You have to stop seeing the airplane as a car. A car is static. An airplane is dynamic. The mental model means intuitively understanding the trade.
It's not just seeing climb.
You see, converting airspeed into altitude,
Yeah.
you internalize the transaction. You know that if you pull back, you are paying for that altitude with speed.
And every maneuver has a cost.
Every single one. The mental model is just keeping a running tally of the bill in your head.
Okay, requirement number 2 is competency. The physical ability to coordinate control inputs.
This is the hands and feet part. It's not enough to know the theory. You have to be able to make the plane do it. You need to be able to transition smoothly.
The handbook uses transitions as a key example. So let's say I'm descending from 5,000 to 3,000 feet. Power is back, nose is down, speed is up.
Okay, so analyze your energy state. You have low potential energy, or it's getting lower, but you have high kinetic energy. You're fast.
Right. To level off, I pull back on the yoke.
Yep. You convert that excess speed back into lift to stop the descent.
Right.
Well, what happens to your speed?
It bleeds off fast.
Rapidly. Now, if you just sit there and wait, you'll slow down past your target speed. You'll get slow.
And then I have to jam the throttle in to catch it.
Which is messy. An energy-competent pilot anticipates. They pitch up, they watch the speed bleed toward the target, and as it hits the target, they bring the power in to catch it.
So you're managing the energy flow smoothly instead of seesawing through the sky.
Exactly. Smoothness is efficient energy management. Jerky pilots are usually wasting energy.
Okay, that brings us to the 3rd requirement. Risk mitigation. The ability to identify, assess, and mitigate risks.
This sounds like corporate speak, but in the cockpit, it's visceral. It's about spotting the energy leak.
What does an energy leak look like? Give me an example.
A skid. A skidding turn, where you're using too much rudder and the plane is sliding sideways, is a massive energy leak. You're presenting the side of the fuselage to the wind.
Huge drag.
Tremendous drag. And this usually happens when pilots overshoot the runway turn, right?
Starting at base to final. Yeah, you overshoot the center line.
And the temptation is to cheat. Step on the rudder to swing the nose around without banking more. If you do that turn while low and slow,
you're draining your bank account right when you can least afford it.
And that's how the spin happens. You rudder the nose around, drag spikes, speed drops, one wing stalls, game over.
So risk mitigation is seeing that and saying,
I am low. I cannot afford to lose any more energy. I need to keep this turn coordinated and maybe add a touch of power. It's proactive.
It seems like staying ahead of the airplane, that phrase instructors love, is really just code for monitoring energy trends.
100%. If you look at your airspeed trend and your altitude trend, you are seeing the future. You don't wait for the stall warning horn. You fix the energy leak now.
I want to circle back to something we touched on, the term total mechanical energy. Why is the FAA so specific about that physics term? Why not just say speed and height?
Because they want you to understand the relationship is fixed. In a closed system, meaning without the engine, total energy equals potential plus kinetic. It's a zero-sum game.
So if I want more of one, I must give up the other.
Unless you use the engine breaks the zero-sum game.
I feel like that is the aha moment. The engine isn't just the go pedal. The engine is the energy supplier. The controls are the energy managers.
That's it. That is the tweet. Controls manage distribution. Engine manages supply. If you understand that, you understand flight.
So let's talk about the listener's next flight. How do they practice this? We can't just go out and nearly crash to test the theory.
No, please don't. But you can practice energy awareness. Here's a drill. Go up to a safe altitude. Set up a descent. Then, try to level off exactly at a target altitude and airspeed without touching the throttle initially.
Just feel the exchange rate.
Feel the exchange rate. I like that. See how many knots 100 feet of altitude buys you?
And notice how that exchange rate gets worse when you're dirty.
Yeah.
Flaps down, gear down.
Exactly. Because the taxman is taking a bigger cut, the drag is higher, so your currency buys you less.
Okay, there's one other scenario the text warns about, and that is the high energy hazard. Having too much energy can be dangerous too.
It can. This is the fast and high problem. If you are coming into an airport and you are 2,000 feet too high and 40 knots too fast, you have a massive surplus of energy to dissipate.
And the only way to get rid of it is drag.
Correct. But pilots get impatient. They push the nose down to get down to the runway.
Which just makes you faster.
Right. You are just converting that potential to kinetic. You aren't getting rid of the energy, you're just changing its form. Now you are at the right altitude, but you're doing 200 knots over the threshold.
And you float into the next county.
To fix a high energy state, you don't just push the nose down. You need to stop the energy input idle throttle and maximize the energy drain drag. S-turns, slips, flaps. You have to waste the energy, not just convert it.
It really turns the cockpit into a physics lab, but like a practical one. It stops being about memorizing maneuvers, step 1, step 2, step 3, and starts being about managing a system.
It makes you a conscious operator of the machine, and that is what the FAA wants. They want pilots who think, not just pilots who recite.
So let's wrap this up. If we had to distill this entire Chapter 4 down to a sticky note for the instrument panel, what are we taking away?
The takeaway is that flying isn't just steering, it is managing a finite amount of energy. You have two accounts: altitude and airspeed. Your job is to monitor those balances constantly.
And never let both get low at the same time.
Never. And remember the big three: LOC-I, CFIT, approach accidents. They are waiting for you to mismanage your account. They are the penalty for bankruptcy.
So for the student pilot listening, next time you are up there, look past the needles. Don't just look at where they are, look at what they are doing. Ask yourself, what is my energy state?
Am I rich in altitude? Am I poor in airspeed? And where is my energy going? Be the manager.
Before we sign off, I want to leave you with one final thought. We talked about that phrase, irreversible deceleration.
The point of no return.
The handbook implies there's a mathematical limit to what a pilot can do. We like to think we are in charge. I have control. But are we always in control?
Only if the physics allow it.
Think about that. If you put the plane in a corner where the energy equation doesn't balance low, slow, high drag, you are no longer the pilot in command.
You're just a passenger. The physics have taken the controls away from you.
So the question is,
Are you flying the plane, or are you just managing its remaining energy before it runs out?
make sure you never put yourself in a position where the math is working against you. Stay high, keep your speed up, and fly safe. We'll see you on the next Deep Dive.
That's it for this episode. Keep your wings level, your brain sharp, and catch you next time in the pattern. Thanks for riding with Propeller Breeze.